was still haunted by the memory. I knew the place where the whole thing began was now about 30 miles behind me. I had planned to miss it, but I now wondered whether it would not have been better to go there. I was in no particular hurry. 20 miles or so south of me lay the channel. I had not actually seen it for nearly 5 years. Peace of the morning, the past continued to invade my thoughts. I sometimes wondered if I would ever forget. Perhaps it was something to do with being nearby that brought it back so vividly. The other car seemed in no hurry to get away. It was the first I'd seen that morning. It irritated me. I liked the silence and the solitude. The trouble with prison was that it was never entirely quiet. And even if you were supposed to be alone, you never felt it. So I traveled at night and in the early morning through a silent and empty England. Whatever it looked like, it had nothing to do with being furtive. I had no reason to be furtive, now that I was a free man once more. Oh, good morning. I wonder if you have a room.
You're a bit early for tonight.
For today.
Oh, you'll have to see Miss Benson. Ring the bell.
Thank you. Oh, good morning. I've been driving all night, and I wonder if you have a room. Something at the back.
Yes, that'll be all right, sir. You'd like some breakfast first, I expect.
Thank you.
You sign the register.
Yes.
I'll put you in number 6. It's small, but it's over the garden, so you'll be quiet there. Just up the stairs on the right.
Thank you.
Come down when you're ready.
You'll be tired after driving all night.
I am a bit.
Well, I should be running the vacuum all morning.
Don't worry about it. I'm all right. Are there many people in?
Not at this time in the morning. There'll be a couple going out after breakfast, and I expect more coming in this evening. When are you going on, then?
I'll see how I feel. Will you, excuse me? Yeah?
That's right. You get a few hours sleep. You'll feel better then. Breakfast will be ready in 10 minutes, Miss Benson says.
Thank you.
Righto, then.
cleaning lady was wrong. Someone had checked in after me. Mr. Matthews. British, lived in Surbiton, and was in the room next to mine. Am I too late for tea?
Not at all. Would you like it in the garden?
I think I would. I was a free man, feeling almost dangerously happy. The danger I felt was that the happiness might not last.
Here we are.
A real country tea.
Well, I hope it won't spoil your appetite. You are staying on to dinner, are you, sir?
Yes.
Fine.
Been a wonderful day.
Wonderful. I don't know why, but I instinctively felt that this was Mr. Matthews from Surbiton, who was in the room next to mine.
Would you mind if I joined you?
No. Please do.
Pleasant enough here. Are you going far?
Westwards.
Business or pleasure?
Purely pleasure.
Lucky. I'm on business myself. I'm looking into the affairs of a late colleague of mine, a man called Evan Maxwell. You knew him, perhaps?
My acquaintance with him was very brief.
Nevertheless, I think you might be able to help me.
In what way?
Look, Mr. Curtis, it's quite a long time ago now, so as far as you're concerned, it's all finished and done with.
I had hoped so.
So it is for you, but not for me. That's why I hoped you might be of help.
What do you want?
I want to know everything that happened during your, as you say, brief acquaintance with him.
I said all that at the trial.
I know what you said at the trial, but I've assumed that it was not complete. Nor even, indeed, very accurate.
I'm sorry to have deprived you of a colleague, Mr. Matthews. Was Maxwell a friend of yours?
Evan Maxwell was the most god-awful bastard I ever knew. I don't mind telling you, if you had needed it, that there were some of us who would have been ready to help you when...
When I came out?
Exactly. But we found upon inquiry that you didn't need help.
No.
However, the possibility remains that you might be able to help us.
I doubt it. I'll try if you like.
Why this traveling by night?
It's none of your business.
It's not?
No. Have you ever been in jail?
I'm afraid I haven't.
Perhaps you may not understand the need for mental privacy. I have had it till I met you, and I will fight to keep it, Mr. Matthews.
I think you're a dangerous man. Going by your record, that must be expected. And account for the fact that you knew my name. Will you accept my assurance that if you give me the information I need, you will not see or hear from me again?
Why should I? What if I don't? What do you want?
Just tell me what happened when Maxwell came along.
I had a dog. He was a good dog. I was fond of him. We were on a field on the other side of the road. yonder? Come on, boy! Came with his tail wagging and a grin on his face. You know what Labradors are. Maxwell was on top of us doing God knows what and well on his wrong side. The dog never had a chance. He was killed instantly. Maxwell stopped the car about 30 yards down the road.
Why don't you keep the dog under control? It could have killed me.
Don't worry. I'm just about to. He was scared as hell. He saw his death coming. I wasn't trying to strangle him, not by then. His whole body had jerked, some sort of convulsion. He was quite alive, but he looked bad. I pulled him out of the car and laid him by the side of the road. I think he said something. That's how I knew he was alive. I can't remember what. Then he stopped muttering. And he was dead. Then this van came along.
How long after was that?
I don't know, a minute perhaps.
And most of that time he was alive?
Oh, yes. Had his eyes open by then. He was looking up at me. How was I to know he had a weak heart?
They allowed for that. All the same, I thought the sentence a stiff one.
Yes, I've been in trouble before. Same sort of thing. The other fella could take it.
Yes, that was it. I suppose the judge wasn't far wrong, really. Think back. It's vital you try to remember. He talked. You must remember what he said.
It's no good. I can't. I'm sorry. It didn't seem important at the time. Well, don't you believe me? Perhaps if you were to tell me what it is you're after.
Where are you going?
Cornwall. To buy a boat.
Coastal stuff?
At first. Later.
France, perhaps?
Perhaps. Why?
Next place you come to.
Was Maxwell on urgent business that day?
Oh, yes. Maxwell was on very urgent business when you stopped him, you and your dog.
Well, then. You'll know what it's all about.
If I were you, Mr. Curtis, I'd put the whole thing out of your mind and go on with your plans.
I intend to. Yet watching him, I knew with absolute certainty this was not the last of it. The car was as anonymous as Mr. Matthews. There was nothing inside to give any clue as to its owner. Drivers always leave something behind, a few coins, packet of gum, matches, a road map. But Mr. Matthews was giving nothing away. I drove through the night until dawn, thinking about my encounter with Matthews. I doubted that was really his name, or that he came from Surbiton. But wherever he had come from, he had set my mind working. It was strange that the memory was so vivid, but what Maxwell had said continued to elude me. It was something to do with the sea. I remembered the incongruity of it, coming from that town-dressed man with his fast car and puffy face. Something to do with the sea. I should get it in a moment. No. It was gone. Whatever it was. But it was something to do with the sea. Have some tea, please.
Yes, of course. I'll get it myself.
No, Mr. Matthews had booked in after me. I was surprised by my disappointment. For Mr. Matthews, I realized, had given me an interest in life. I knew, so long as I didn't worry about it, that what Maxwell had said would come to me. And when it did, I knew I was going to keep it to myself. Then I remembered. It was something to do with my car. The sea and the car. But what the connection was, I didn't know. Not this car, but one like it. The one I owned when I killed Maxwell. All night, I thought about it.
Hey, you couldn't get us to Marshcombe, could you? The bloody bike's broken down.
Get in, come on, get in, quick!
Thanks, get the bags.
What about the bike?
Oh, leave it, just get in.
I'll go back and get it in the morning.
I'm not coming. It's your bike.
Where are you going then?
Where are you going?
Cornwall.
Can you take me on?
I can, but I'll be driving until daylight.
That's fine.
Thanks for the lift.
Right then. Cornwall.
I usually take a break for a while. Do the rest by daylight.
It's fine by me. I'm exhausted.
The rain stopped with the dawn. I didn't know what to make of this young girl who had driven with me through the night. But it was all very easy and matter of fact, with no explanations needed. I was physically tired, And even with her in my arms, my mind continued to think about Maxwell. Then I remembered what he had said. High tide. That was where the car came in, for the time of the high tide was the same as the registration number of the car. I remembered the fact, but not the number. He had mumbled it, and a moment later he was dead. But I had it. High tide. High tide. Morning.
Oh, God, I've forgotten. What are you going to do?
Buy a boat.
What? A proper boat with sails?
Mm.
And then what? Sail it?
That's the idea.
Let's go and find one, then. You must be stinking rich.
I've got some money saved. Just come out of prison.
Have you? That's interesting. I've just run away from a convent.
Celia didn't mention the young man she had dropped so abruptly. She was friendly, but decisive, and I found her extraordinarily easy to get on with. So we arranged to meet later in the day.
Make it 7.
7 it is.
Okay.
Have a nice time.
I will. Buy a nice boat.
I did not buy a boat that day or the next. I had other things to do.
Duncan? This is Peter Curtis here. Oh, fine, thank you. Listen, do you remember that Cortina I had 4 years ago? Could you look up the registration number for me, please? Thank you.
High tide.
952. Thank you.
UPL 952K. The particular high tide Maxwell had had so much in mind had been at 952. Now I had to find out where. I had stopped him in full flight at about 8 in the evening. It had been late June and broad daylight. I reckoned his destination could not be more than 50 miles away. All I wanted was the local tide tables for the 17th of June 4 years ago. There were only half a dozen places on the map that would be likely. If they gave 952 for high water at a particular place, then that was the place I wanted. It was there, straight away, Yelmouth, 952. Yelmouth was a small place, and on the map it looked promising. I had a date and a time. Something had been due to happen when the flood tide came to the full on that June evening 4 years ago. Something important enough to bring Evan Maxwell hurtling down country without telling his friends where he was going. If I were to sail to Yelmouth, I might be able to find out what it was. The next day, I found my boat.
is her.
Oh.
She's not a proud beauty, is she?
No, she's honest. Okay?
Yeah. What's she got?
What?
What's she got inside?
Galley next to the cockpit. 2 berths.
She looks nice.
Her name's Madge.
Madge. A staid name for a staid boat.
Suits me perfectly.
Yeah? Can I go aboard?
Of course. Come on.
Madge is all right.
Well, I'm so glad you think so.
It's up to you, I think.
Well, on the contrary, it's up to you.
I'd like to come, but on conditions. It's you that's got to sign on.
Well, I'll sign. If it doesn't work out, I'll just have to drop you ashore somewhere.
When do we sail?
Tomorrow. You shop for the stores?
And where do we sail?
Eastwards. Strictly coastal stuff to begin with. No. Till we know more about her, eh?
Agreed.
That evening, we watched one another for the first time with a touch of unwilling but unavoidable calculation.
You can always, back out, you know.
I know.
Do you need someone to ring?
No. I can look after myself. I hope it's going to be all right.
It's worth trying.
Yeah, of course it is. I'll be down bag and baggage for the morning tide. About 10.
10's fine.
I better go now.
I'll have a nightcap.
Just had one. You have another.
No. I'll see you back to your date.
No need. I'll see you tomorrow. You have that one. Night, Peter.
Night, Celia.
I was keeping my destination to myself. Matthews was expecting me to cruise, and I was going to. And call at plenty of places before I got to Yarmouth. In the meantime, there was Celia. The whole thing was full of uncertainties, and I regarded them all with equal pleasure. I couldn't see any chance of trouble anywhere, except, of course, in the sea. But that was always there. Take her out. For all I knew, there might be one person on the quay who had come down for the sole purpose of seeing us go. I didn't know which of them it might be, or if there was any such person there at all.
Okay. I'll take over now.
What about a coffee? Too late?
Coffee? Never.
Why don't we make for somewhere? Channel Islands or France or somewhere?
I want to get used to her first.
We are used to her. My dad is like a dream. We should have a destination, Peter.
I just want to drift along.
Going nowhere?
No one in particular? Why don't you go below, eh? Get some sleep for a while. I'll call you at 2.
Good night, Peter.
Good night, Celia. I was left with only the boat and the sea, wondering more than ever what would come of it. Matthews, Maxwell, and whatever had happened at Yarmouth seemed very remote and of little importance. Celia, it's 2. Your watch.
Sorry. Sleeping like the dead. Give me a couple of minutes and I'll be up.
Fright was unlike Celia, and I had frightened her. I had to face the fact that she might already know about me, and she could only know if Mr. Matthews had told her. My peace was gone. It went in a split second when she woke and I saw she was terrified of me. She had to know.
You know, it's going to take an awful long time to get anywhere in these conditions.
I'm not going anywhere. What about you?
Saving my fare home. Doesn't look as though I'm going to save much by the looks of it.
Have you someone to ring?
No. I can look after myself.
Carry your bags, miss.
Oh, yeah. Have a nice swim.
Yeah. Why the toys?
Toys.
We are looking in the toy shop.
Oh, I've got a nephew and a conscience. Hey, I've got some steak. Dinner on board.
Good. Come on. I'll buy the wine.
Tell me about your nephew.
Not interested, really, are you?
Only in his existence.
What do you mean?
I see you.
Breaking the rules.
No, there are no rules. Not anymore. Now, what are you up to?
I don't know what you mean.
What are you up to?
Stop it!
What are you up to? What are you up to? What are you up to? I headed out to sea once more, conscious all the time of a nagging disquiet and hoping if I went far and fast enough to get away from it. 3 days later, I reached the end of my journey. Yelmouth was common ground of equal interest to both the enemy and myself. The difference was that I knew it and they didn't. Good evening. Large scotch, please. Scotch it is.
Aren't you off that sloop that came in this afternoon? Madge?
Yes.
Yeah. I watched you. Oh, I'll do these, but another one for me, please.
No need.
No. Staying long?
No fixed plans. Just now I've had enough of sailing for a bit.
Well, you could do worse than drop your hook here. Could do with a new face.
Not many visitors.
No, we don't cater for them. Not much for them to do around here. No sands, that's what it is. Sands I want, isn't it, Cyril?
Yes, sort of sands we get around here aren't exactly the kind you'd want to go and play with your bucket and spade on.
Dangerous?
In places, yes. It's the tide more than anything. 1 minute it's all water, next minute it's all sand. Interested in birds?
Not really. I mean, I quite like to look at them, but I'm not an expert, no.
Pity. Got a lot of interesting ones around here, on the river, marshes.
Well, if I stay for a while, you must show me.
Really? I mean, God, I say, look, tell you what, why don't you pop up and see us tonight, have dinner? My wife would be very pleased to meet you.
Well, I wouldn't want to impose.
No, rubbish. We live just the end of the point. You can't miss the house. What should we say, 8:30?
Well, thank you.
Right, this is dinner, by the way. Oh, Cyril Tomlinson.
Curtis, Peter Curtis.
Good, fine. Okay, well, see you later. Yes, novels about Nelson's Navy. They come out once a year. They do rather well.
Of course, I thought your name was familiar. I'm afraid I haven't read any.
Oh, nothing to be afraid of. Thank God, thousands do. Helen, this is Miss Curtis.
How do you do, Mrs. Tomlinson?
How'd you do?
Hello.
Good. Well, sit down. Have a sherry.
How long will you stay on Yeoman?
I haven't bagged up plans.
We'll Just have to make sure Peter has a good time and he won't leave us too quickly. We don't get many visitors up here. We like to make the best of those we do get. I'm taking Peter upriver to look at the bird life. You'll be amazed by what there is.
Excuse me, I'll have to go and see to the dinner.
It was a good meal and a good evening. I wondered about Helen Tomlinson. You couldn't help wondering. I wondered, above all, what it would be like having her to myself. It was a landscape without scale or limit, empty and completely silent. I wondered if there was something upstream that mattered, some place which Evan Maxwell had gone hurrying to reach while the tide was high at 9:52. Then I made up my mind. The following morning, I settled down to steady rowing upstream, knowing that the tide was coming up strongly behind me. I didn't really know what I was looking for, but there must be something. A bridge, landing stage, even a length of road near the water. Some place where the sea made contact with the life of the land, but only at high tide, and then probably very briefly. But there was nothing. Anywhere. The tide was making strongly now, so I simply shipped the oars and went with it. It could be anything, or anyone in those woods. If I was being watched, that is where I was being watched from. The tide was getting very near the slack, and just as I was about to start off downstream, there it was. A very old stone house, dark gray under the dark skies. Twice in 24 hours, the sea would reach it. And I knew that this was where Evan Maxwell had intended to be on that late June evening 4 years ago. What I had to find out next was why. The thank you note was just an excuse. No car was in the drive, which meant Cyril was out. I wanted the chance of seeing Helen. There was something mysterious about her and intriguing. I'm sorry. I didn't realize anyone was at home.
Only me. Come in. Sit down. Where do you come from?
Just now?
No, I mean on your boat.
Up the coast, Cornwall.
You're on holiday?
More or less.
Do you want me to read that?
Not really. It's just an excuse. You did expect me, huh?
Yes.
Do you mind?
I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I'm not very used to visitors.
Do you mean no one comes here at all?
There's no one to come.
There is now.
Yes.
I didn't want to face the possibility of meeting Cyril or my pursuers if I was being pursued. I wanted to visit the isolated house again, but this time by land, and I did not want to be followed. There was no sign of life at all. It was completely quiet. It was closed up, but not derelict. Nobody lived there, but somebody looked after it.
Jack.
Sorry.
I had one just like him.
Aye. I heard them barking. I wondered what it was.
No, I realize I'm trespassing. I was just walking by the river and,
Came up the steps.
Yes, I thought there was a way back to
The
the...
tide will be rising on them pretty soon.
It's moving quickly. I thought there might be a way back to the road.
There is. There's a track up to the road, but it's a private right of way. But, well, since you're here, you might as well.
You live here?
No, I just look after it.
Is it a holiday home?
Not at all. No, it's always been lived in. The owner died a few years back. I'm still trying to find out what they want done with it.
I envy you your job.
I don't know. I used to work regular for Mr. Castlelake, but now, well, I don't know.
Must be getting on then. Thank you for letting me through. Bye, Jack. I didn't see why a man keeping an eye on an empty house should do so with a gun in his hand. The caretaker hadn't given much away except the name of the owner, Mr. Casson, now dead. But there had to be a connection between Evan Maxwell and the house.
Get down, for God's sake. What the hell are you doing up here? There's a pair of Caspian terns out there in the water. You think had them up?
I'm sorry I was so fierce with you this morning. It was the Caspians. They're pretty rare visitors.
I'm sorry, I might have frightened them away.
Where was this?
Oh, just upstream from the harbor. I was walking along the river edge. I climbed a bank, and suddenly there was Cyril. Behind a large pair of binoculars, so I sat quietly till he'd seen all he wanted.
He was a model of forbearance. Actually, I was very pleased you were close into the bank. It's not safe out there. At low tide, you know.
Quicksand?
People have drowned. Visitors, mostly. 1 minute it's completely firm under you, and the next it just gives way. I think the thing to do is to lie flat, wait for the tide to come in, and lift you off and swim for it.
I'd rather you didn't go up to the river at all.
Quite right. It's not safe up there, and that's a fact. Oh, more coffee. And certainly more brandy.
You're a rather mysterious person.
I thought I was being rather obvious. The mystery is in you. You happy?
I'm not unhappy.
Could be happy.
Cheers. Oh, what a wind. There's a window smashed. Oh, well, that's fixed it. What a mess. Still, it'll keep.
I, have to be going.
Must you? Don't worry about your boat. It's, perfectly safe in the harbor.
I'm not worried about my boat. I just have to be going.
Oh, all right. I'll show you out.
Thank you, Cyril.
I'd better get back. Helen can't stand this wind.
No?
No, I don't think she really likes it. Way up here on the point.
No, you must be used to it by now.
No, not really. She hasn't been here long, just a couple of years. I don't think she's really got used to it.
Well, say goodnight to Helen for me. There was no sense in it. But I couldn't go. Not just yet.
Are you all right? I was worried about you.
I'm fine.
Oh, thank God for that. Only we drank a bit last night, but with the wind.
I sobered up by the time I got back here.
Yeah. I must say, I could do with the hair of the dog.
I'll come over for you.
Afraid I got rather drunk last night. Remember meaning to be.
No more than I was.
Thank God for that. What happened?
What happened when?
When you left, what did I say at the gate?
Not much. I think you were worried about Helen.
Oh.
Well, I remember you said you'd been married for 2 years. I remember being surprised because I thought you'd been married for longer.
You weren't surprised that she was unhappy?
No, you said that.
Don't you think she is?
I don't think it's any of my business.
You mean it's none of my business asking?
That's up to you.
Then I'm asking.
I don't think she's unhappy. I get the impression she's unsettled, undecided, waiting for something to happen.
Her father died very suddenly. She was left very much on her own. She'd been married before. They were a friend of mine, her and her father. I offered her a home. Wouldn't you have done the same thing? They lived just up the river from here.
Where?
Oh, it's a nice house. It's very desolate. Very isolated. Casson's name, their name. A house called Herons. A couple of years later, Charles died. Great strong chap he was. It was a river did for him, really. Caught in a storm, fishing. And then she was alone again. Well, you can see how it was. I don't know whether it was the right thing. Only I don't think she's ever really settled down.
I'm sorry, Cyril.
Well, that's why I rather commandeered you. It's good for her to see people. She doesn't go out. Well, hardly ever.
It's, meant a lot to me.
I'm glad. I didn't mean to burden you with all this. I've no right, really.
It's no burden.
You're not thinking of going immediately, are you?
No, not immediately, but I must get on sometime.
Of course, of course. Well, I've got things to do in town. Could you put me ashore?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm very grateful.
No need to be grateful.
Well, come up and see us again, won't you?
I will.
If Helen belonged to Herons, it meant she was connected somehow with the business that had brought me to Yelmouth. And yet she couldn't have been involved with Matthews, because Matthews didn't know about the isolated house. Helen. Helen.
What do you want?
Just wanted to see you.
I know, but why?
Something that Cyril said this morning.
I don't mean that. Why have you come to Yelmouth? What is it that you want me to do?
I didn't come to see you. I didn't know you existed until I came here.
But you killed Evan Maxwell, didn't you?
Yes. Yes, I killed him. And how'd you know?
Your name. Your name, I saw it in the papers. Why have you come to Yelmouth, if not to find me?
Something Maxwell said before he died. About being in a particular place at a particular time. And it sounded important and sounded like Yelmouth. But when I discovered Heron's, I came to the conclusion that was the place Maxwell was making for. But you knew I'd been to Heron's, didn't you?
Yes, Benton told me.
It was only this morning I discovered you were the owner and I had to speak to you. I just thought you might explain it all to me.
I can't do that. Will you do something for me?
Oh, yes.
Go away from here. Go right away. Get in your boat and never come back. Forget about it. Forget that it has ever happened.
Is that what you want?
Yes.
And there's nothing I can do to help in any way.
Just go away.
What it was all about was not my concern, because Helen no longer was. She had put an end to it. All I could do was go and lead the hunt elsewhere. I started putting things in order to leave the following morning on the Tide. My heart was not in it, but there was nothing else to do. It took 4 double whiskeys and an hour or more to say goodbye to Cyril. He dreaded going home at all. Home to the house which I would have given half I possessed to be able to go to.
By the way, does Helen know you're going?
I don't think it will come as a surprise.
Bye, Peter.
I was full of whiskey and unhappiness, and all I wanted to do was get into my berth before there was any danger of my sobering up.
Peter. Peter. Wake up. Shh.
Celia.
Can I have a towel?
Yes. Yes, of course.
Thank you. No, don't.
Okay, we'll get some coffee.
I've got to get back before they know I'm gone.
Why all the secrecy? Are you being watched?
Maybe. So may you. If they're here, they'll expect me to come down and see you in the morning.
Who are they, Celia? People that hired you?
Yes. I'm sorry. I didn't know how serious it was. I still don't know what it's all about, but I know it's serious.
Why you?
Well, it's rather complicated. I was broke and gullible. And I didn't know you were going to be the person you are. And I found I couldn't leave it like that. I'm just sorry.
I'm sorry, too.
For what?
What are these people about?
Well, they've got quite an organization, but there's only 2 of them that matter.
Who are they, then?
Well, I know them as the Smiths. 2 brothers, ordinary, respectable, but they're dangerous. They're not going to let you out of their sight. They're going to make it their business to know exactly what you're doing. Can't you get out of this? Just get right away. You've got the boat.
I was going to, in fact. I'm sailing in the morning. What are you going to do?
I'll be all right. As long as they know that I haven't been talking to you. They wouldn't like that. I've really got to go now. Shall I see you sometime?
Perhaps.
And remember, don't shop until at least 7. I'll be gone by then.
Goodbye, Celia. It was time to go. I had told Helen I would, and I had told Celia. If she was right and my movements were being watched, I'd stayed in Yelmouth quite long enough. It was a sad, furtive place where sad things happened and nothing seemed to get properly explained. I didn't want to set foot in Yelmouth again, not ever, but I was out of fuel, so I had no choice. There was nothing I would do, and they, whoever they were, knew it. Her death was useless because she had already done what they had killed her to stop her doing. Matthews couldn't know, and that was my trump card. If I tried to make trouble, I knew only too well what would happen. There would be evidence discreetly forthcoming that I knew her, and that she had sailed in Madge with me. What hope would a man with my record have in the face of evidence like that? If I kept quiet, there would be nothing against me. I imagined poor Celia, halfway down the wet, slippery steps, starting to hail Madge, then finding there was someone above her. It wouldn't have taken long. All he wanted was the nerve and strength and the complete absence of pity. Sometime, somehow, I would find Matthews, his brother Smith, and there would be no doubt at all about my intentions. For once, my anger had calculation in it. It would keep and be there when I wanted it. I knew only too well that I couldn't leave Yelmouth now. They were onto something, and Helen didn't even know they were there. She was involved, and she must be warned before she was their next victim. First of all, I had to find something out of sight of the harbor. It was the classic smuggler's cove where you could land anything from a keg of brandy to a dozen shivering Pakistanis. It was the ideal anchorage, away from the rough waters where the sea met the tide. I had my base. How visible I was, I'd have to find out. I imagined Cyril would be at his work table, staring out to sea and taking deliberate refuge in solitude. I felt dreadfully sorry for him. I knew I only had to tap on his window of him to welcome me ecstatically as relief almost beyond hope. But my business was not with him. Helen, it's Peter.
What is it?
Something's happened.
Come in.
I told her everything, from my meeting with Matthews to my discovery of Celia's body under the harbor steps.
Cyril said he heard a girl was drowned at the harbor. A visitor, he said.
Oh, that would be the story.
Are you certain these people are in Yelmouth now?
Yes.
You said yesterday that you'd do anything for me. Will you?
What do you want me to do?
Take me away from here. To France. In your boat.
What about Cyril?
Cyril? Don't worry about Cyril. He'll just be relieved.
Perhaps. There are two conditions. First, you must realize that there is a certain element of risk. The boat is not an ocean cruiser. And, I must know what it's all about.
I'll tell you everything, up to a certain point. Beyond that, I couldn't trust you or anyone.
Tell me what you can.
My father had a large amount of money. It was hidden. It still is. He had, I suppose, no right to it, but then nor did anyone else.
This was at Heron's?
No, France. Charles Casson wasn't my father. He was no friend of his. My father was French. I am French.
That's it. Go on.
It was at the end of the war. I was a child then.
The money was in gold sovereigns. It got left with him. The Allies landed and everything was in confusion, so he didn't have to account for it. He hid it and just waited.
He waited a long time. Then I think he started to use a little. Carefully, but not carefully enough. 5 years ago, these people came to see him.
Who were they?
And Maxwell, your friend Matthews, and his brother. They told him if he didn't pay up, they'd come back and take me. I was his weak spot, you see. So I was sent to Charles Casson. Then things went wrong.
Then she told me what happened. The man who had been with her father in the resistance knew about the plan to get Helen to England and had been bribed by Maxwell. Her father found out, there was a fight. The man died. Her father was badly wounded. When he knew he was dying, he told her she must go to Casson. All had been arranged. As he died, he told her where the money was, and so she arrived at Heron's. But Maxwell decided to double-cross the others.
Then you killed him. You and your dog. That left nobody who knew. I didn't know he hadn't told the others, of course. So I waited. And I've been more or less waiting ever since.
And when Casson died, you married Cyril?
He wanted me to. He is a kind man. And I could wait here as safely as at Heron's.
So you want me to land you in France and then leave you?
I think that would be best.
And that's where your trust runs out?
Even if you knew where I was going, you'd never find the money.
All right. Do you think you could find your way down to the cove where the boat is?
What does it involve?
A climb of about 40 feet.
I can't manage heights. Could you take me from Heron's? I've got to go there before I leave.
What about Fenton?
Oh, he can be trusted.
All right. You come to Heron's tomorrow evening. We'll row to Madge on the Tide and be away by daylight.
I'll telephone Fenton and let him know what's happening. You'd better go.
Time was everything now. What I could do with the oars was negligible. It was the tide that would get me to Heron's, and the sooner I was out in the full run of it, the better. I no longer thought of her as the silent woman. I had now, on the face of it, the explanation of her silence, but it was not a complete explanation. It followed that any relationship you had with her would be on her own terms, and I wanted her on any terms I could get. I should have it to myself until we got to France. After that, it would be for her to decide. I believed she might decide to keep me if she found that she could trust me. I had my uses. Beyond that, I did not flatter myself. It was difficult to believe from out here that there was anyone alive in Yelmouth at all. If there was, I couldn't see them, and I hoped they couldn't see me.
Then. Tide is just on the tongue.
Where do we put her?
Oh, there's a shed back there. Miss Helen said to put you in the house.
Is there any chance of some food?
Aye, there's some food in the kitchen.
I'll leave this here.
Yes.
Where do I sleep?
Upstairs. I'll show you.
Okay.
In here.
Nice room. Must have been a lovely house.
Miss Helen's room, this was. Look, I'll have to lock up now. But I'll be back in the morning.
Do you think you could find me something to read? Tomorrow, I mean.
I'll see what I can find. But I'll have to go now. Come on, Jack.
Good night, Jack.
Are you all right?
Yeah, fine. Where's Jack?
Oh, he's up at the cottage. Oh, that's best when I'm down here. We'd hear him bark if anybody came. I take it Miss Helen is going with you.
That's what she wants.
She'll be coming back.
That's up to her.
As long as she's safe.
She'll be as safe as I can make her.
There was nothing to do but wait and watch the tide slowly recede. My apprehension was overlaid with longing. I wanted Helen here. I wanted her to myself in this quiet house for as long as possible before the water came up and we had to commit ourselves to the river and the moonlight.
Well,
You're all right, I think.
when do we leave?
2:15. Where's Fenton?
Up at the cottage. He let me in and I drove straight here.
Where's the car?
It's in the yard. Well, I've got a bag with me. Is that all right? It's quite small.
Of course.
You, found what you wanted?
Yes. There's a safe.
This was your room.
Yeah.
Does Cyril know about tonight? Poor Cyril.
Why, poor Cyril, he's all right.
I expect he will be now.
You mean now I've gone?
Yes, think so.
What time is it?
Oh, it's, getting on for 1.
An hour to wait.
You mind if I join you? Do you think you can find a use for me?
You put it so disarmingly.
Has anyone ever disarmed you?
You ask too many questions. Come here. Is it time?
Yes. Helen.
I'd better get my bag. It's in the car. I shan't be a minute.
Go on. on.
Why should I? Why should I make it easier for you? The key's in the chest.
Get it then.
Why did you have to kill that girl?
What girl?
The girl in the harbor.
She was trying to talk to your friend.
Curtis. Oh, well, he's gone now.
That's what it looks like. But he had served his purpose.
They must have come across the fields. Otherwise, Fenton would have seen them.
Did you see the other one?
But they must be here somewhere.
I'll go and look for him. You don't mind staying here, do you?
Be careful, though.
He's gone in the river. He went right under the mud.
The tide will drag him out, but he'll come ashore somewhere. Was he marked?
Not by me.
Another visitor drowned in the river.
2, though they'll only find 1. God, you're wounded.
What? No, it's nothing. We can fix it when we get to Madge. You ready?
I shan't be coming. They're dead. There's no need to come now.
Yeah? It's up to you. You'll be all right.
Yes.
You can choose your own time now. Don't leave it too long.
No. No. I'll be all right.